over the next few videos, I'm going to help you understand how to understand how people work, what motivates them, how to take that information and then turn around and use it. This is the foundation. You understand how people work. All right. So the first step in understanding people and preparing yourself as a copywriter to help people is you have to pick who you're reaching out to and who you're helping in the first place. We're going to be talking about target markets and what's called an avatar. Now, these are the people you're going to be writing to. I have a saying that I like to repeat, and it's whoever impacts the reader at the deepest level wins. Of course, that's me. I came up with that saying, but it's true. In the market out there in the world, whoever can impact, whoever can connect or persuade a person the deepest out of anyone in the world, that's the person who wins their trust, who wins their business, who they'll pay for their products and services. So specificity gives you power. If you try and help everyone or sell a product to everyone in the entire world, you'll end up helping no one. But if you're able to focus your efforts and communication on a defined group of people, you can impact them significantly on a significantly higher level, right? Now, when you're sitting down to figure this out, your target market, that's the defined group of people who will get the most out of your product or service. If you focus on them and their specific problems, their dreams and roadblocks, you can communicate in a way that allows you to impact them on a deeper level than anyone else in the market, right? So when you're sitting down to write copy for a specific product, the first step is to sit down and ask yourself, who's the ideal target market for this product? Who is going to be the person who's going to get the most out of this product or service? Once you've got that figured out, then you're going to use the following trick to make sure you write in a way that resonates deeply with them. And you do that by creating what's called an avatar. Now, an avatar is a single person that embodies the characteristics of your target market. They're the person you picture in your mind, the single person you picture in your mind as you write. And I like to imagine that they're like sitting in front of me and I'm speaking only and directly to them through the words that I'm writing. So for example, let's run through this process. Let's say that the target market for the copywriting campus is 19 to 25-year-old men who are hungry to get wealthy and live free from the matrix. That's a really basic level. I'd get a little more to define my target market, but let's say that's the target market, right? Let's say. Now, if I want to create an avatar to help me imagine this target market, here's what that might look like in this example. So we'd create someone, I'd call him Steve. I'd say Steve is a 20-year-old young man living in Dallas, Texas. He's set to go back to college later this year, but he's dreading it. Right now, he lives with his parents, binge watches Tate videos, et cetera, et cetera. And I'd go into more and more detail, right? You could even pick a picture to help you picture this person, right? Like a literal picture. I went and found this on pexels.com. It's just some website where you can get stock imagery. And this is who I might imagine in my mind when I think of Steve, right? So now if I were to sit down and write copy to persuade people to join the copywriting campus, or if I was, let's say, putting together a set of slides for new copywriting students, I could imagine Steve and address all of my words to him and everything that I say as if he's sitting across from me right now and I was talking with him. Now, what that does is that gives my writing a personal edge. When I can imagine a specific person, it's easier for me to communicate in a way that feels natural and connects with that kind of person on a deeper level, right? So it resonates well with Steve. If someone comes along that's the exact carbon copy of my avatar, resonates perfect with him. Plus, almost everyone else inside that kind of larger target market, it also resonates really closely with them because Steve is an embodiment of those people, right? The target market is the kind of the wider group of people that is a good fit for your product. And Steve, or your avatar, is the one specific version of the embodiment of that. It's a single instance. It's one person. He may or may not be real, but he's a tool I use to think clearly about him and his life. And that specificity gives me power. It gives my brain enough reality to latch onto that it can come up with the rest of the information I need to know. So what do you need to include when you're creating an avatar? You need to understand, at a bare minimum, you need the name, age, and a face is helpful, right? That level of detail makes it easier for you to imagine them as a real person, individual person. It's really helpful. And then you can kind of ask questions. Well, how would Steve think about this? Or what would Steve say that? And it's funny, you can ask your brain questions and your brain can give you answers, but it's a lot easier when you have a name, their age, and their face, right? And then you're also going to want their background and a mini life history. You don't need to go crazy overboard. You don't need every single thing that's ever happened in their entire life. I don't need to know what January 23rd was like when they were in third grade. You don't need to know that, right? But you need to understand the general context of their life, their previous experiences, what has happened to them up to now. You don't have to be terribly detailed, but you need to have a general feel for what that's like. The other thing that's really helpful is if you can come up with a day in the life. If you can get a rough idea or an image or a movie in your brain of what like a day in that life of that avatar is like. He wakes up here, he gets up, he moves around, he does this, he does that, goes here, he dreads looking at that, he's excited for this, he sits there, he watches this video. If you can create a rough day in the life, that gives you a lot of rich context to draw from when you're working with him to help him change. The other thing you need to realize, you need to pay attention to, is you need to see if you can identify what are his values. Like, what do they believe in is most important? What do they believe in? What do they believe is most important? What do they despise? It's extremely important. Their value system is going to be informative when you're speaking to them. You need to understand it so you don't violate it when you speak with them. And instead you can go, either you can shift the things to be shifted, or at the very least you can go with the current of his current value system and direct him using that information. So it's important you understand their values, right? The other thing you need to understand is what outside forces are acting on his life. So most people have, in many cases, mistaken belief that outside forces control their lives, right? School, parents, other family members, religion, blah, blah, blah. All these other things control or influence their life. Now, you need to understand if your avatar has placed undue power on these outside sources, because that's going to be important. You can either use them as a source of blame, or as something, it's a factor you're going to need to adjust. If they really, really value the opinion of their parents, you might be able to change the way that their parents perceive them and use that as an indicator or a sort of a carrot that you dangle from them. Hey, do this and your parents will be so proud. Rough example, but you need to understand the outside forces. That's an important part of like the terrain of that person, right? So these are 5 things. There's a lot more you can include. But this is just sort of a general idea, some things you want to look for when you're creating an avatar. Now, normally, if you're sitting down to do this for an established product, you'll be looking at the person's website, their social media, their webpage, the product page for the product you're trying to help them with. And usually you can get enough information from a product page. You can tell kind of by the context clues who they're talking to, kind of, you can get most of the information for who their target market is at least, right? And then kind of based on that, those context clues, and even if you have to make your best guess about some of those things, you can create an avatar from that. And again, you might have to kind of guess what their values are, or maybe what a day in their life is like. You're gonna have to imagine some of this, but the power comes from getting specific here. If you get specific and you make this avatar into a real fleshed out person in your brain, it gives you an ability to write on a deeper, more personal level. So you're gonna get what information you can from your research, and then you have to make your best guess about the rest. But it's less about being right and more about being specific and being real in your own brain. So if you're working with an established client, instead of like completely inventing the avatar, just like pulling them out of thin air, you're going to instead sit down with your client and identify their most loyal, high-paying customers. And basically, you're just going to clone them. They will become your avatar. So when you sit down to write, you'll just think, oh, this guy's a really great client. Tim has experienced all these benefits. I'm going to write to Tim, but I'm going to write to Tim, basically the version of Tim that existed before he started using this product or service. So that's the avatar you can even create. Having an existing client makes it a lot easier to sort of supercharge or speed up this process. So defining the target market, figuring out who are the ideal customers for this product, who is going to get the most benefit out of this, who's going to pay the most, who's going to be the best ideal customer for this product. That's step number 1. It's extremely important. And then taking that and synthesizing out and creating one single avatar that you can use in your brain, a specific single embodiment of that target market to give your brain the specificity it needs. If you do that, it will allow you to focus on them, and it will give your writing the power of specificity and allow you to impact them on a deeper level and win in a marketplace. This is one of the things that will give you, this is one of the things that separates good copywriters from bad copywriters. Good copywriters and excellent world-class copywriters are all really good at defining and speaking to one specific avatar when they write. It gives them an edge over the competition. It gives them an ability to influence people on a deeper level. This is an extremely important step when you're setting out to decide, to help someone sell a product or to just help people in general. You need to first define who you're going to help, and that's how you do it with this target market and the avatar. All right, this is a fun one. So we've talked about picking a single individual to picture in your mind as the person that you are helping, that you're there to help, as your avatar, and that perfect embodiment of your target market. Now we're going to talk about human motivators and how you can use them to propel someone to take action. Now, this is a powerful lesson. I've consumed a lot of marketing materials where when they teach this type of stuff, they make people like swear or promise that they'll never use this for evil, because when you understand how humans work, what motivates them to change, unless you're a good person, you can use it for evil. And I highly recommend you use it for good, for helping people to change in positive directions. You will be rewarded plenty by doing so. So there's no need to go sinister. Just but keep in mind, these are potent ideas that I'm about to share with you. They're powerful. You need to be very conscious about how you use them. And I highly recommend you only use them for good, both for yourself and for others. Now, something to pay attention with as I teach this, these ideas also apply to yourself. So we're talking right now about how to help other people make positive changes in their life and move towards something good, and in the process purchase a product, right, that hopefully is a good product that actually will help them achieve this dream state. Now, you can also consume this material through the lens of your own life, right? So as you're seeking to create um, if you're seeking to create change in your own life, to step into a dream outcome, a different life, what you're going to learn here will help you motivate yourself, will help you direct your actions. This is a very powerful lens. So as we go through this, keep those things in mind. This is a powerful lesson. This will be helpful for you guys. So with that, let's dive in. So humans are only compelled to take action for two main reasons. There's only two things. One, they're either running away from pain, or two, they are running towards pleasure. Now, it's our job as copywriters to understand both and to combine them so we can propel people forward toward a better life. I like this diagram. The face was kind of an ornery guy, so I switched it for a happy little emoji. But essentially, you're the copywriter, right? And you are helping these people, which is like the horse, right? You're helping them and propelling them forward by helping them run away from pain, and you are also helping them run towards pleasure, right? And this is how you motivate people to move the fastest in their life, right? Some people respond better to one side versus the other. Some people respond better to pain. Other people respond better to a positive thing to move forward to in the future. But generally, it's a combination of both that will help you help others change and make changes in their lives. So let's talk about both in greater detail. So the first one, running toward pleasure. Now, let's go back to the first one, which is actually running away from pain. Now, for most humans, this is the most powerful motivator. People are mostly afraid of loss. They are worried about risk reversal. They are worried about bad things happening to them. They're worried about, and they are motivated by pain and frustrating things in their life. It's a survival mechanism, right? It's how humans have evolved to stay alive. We run away from pain. Ooh, that hurts. That's fire. I'm not going to touch that again. Oh, a tiger is chasing me and he's going to eat me. That's a little more important than my self-fulfillment, right? Running away from pain is a powerful motivator. Tony Robbins, he was a famous guy, helped a lot of people change their lives. He had a statement that I think is really true. And he said that change happens when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change, right? So as a copywriter, you need to understand the things that they're currently going through, the pain that is currently in their life. And in some ways, you're going to help them amplify that or help them understand it a little bit better. And you're also going to help them understand that the pain of change is a little less than they think it is, right? But in order to do that, you have to understand that you have to understand the pain and frustration they're currently going through, right? I call this their current state. So right now in their life, this person, and you are too, right? You're in a situation, you're in a current state, and there are things that are good, things that are bad. There are things that are painful and frustrating, right? You need to understand the pain and frustration that those people are currently experiencing in their life so that you can agitate and amplify that to then propel them to leave their current state and move towards a dream state. So some things you can ask yourself is, what is painful or frustrating in the current life of my avatar? What annoys them? What do they fear? What do they lie awake at night worrying about? How do others negatively perceive them now? You want to think about these agitators that exist in their life, the things that they are dissatisfied with, they are upset with, they hate or despise or are painful for them, things that they're frustrating, things that they don't like dealing with. You want to understand as many of these as possible in the life of your avatar, especially how it relates to whatever problem your product or service solves, right? What are their pains? The better you understand that, the better, right? The better you'll be able to amplify them and propel them forward, right? The other side of the coin is people running toward pleasure. So I refer to this as the dream state. People have an idea of some nice version of the future where the problems don't exist and they can enjoy nicer experiences. Um, for someone to change, you have to, instead of just agitating their current state, you have to also present them with a compelling, hope-filled vision of the future, right? It's not enough just to agitate their pain and tell them to buy something. You have to show them how they can move forward and experience a better life. Now, a lot of people are really, really well acquainted with the pain and frustration in their life. However, not everybody actually can even conceptualize a dream state, right? They have some vague idea, but you are going to want to be able to present a rich and vivid and detailed vision of the future, right? And you're going to have to take control of that vision. It needs to be compelling and relevant to them, but it needs to be vivid and exciting and dynamic. And it's up to you to make it so. Some good questions you can ask to discover what this pleasure is or this dream state is that your avatar might want to move forward to. You could ask yourself and them. If they could wave a magic wand in their life and fix everything, what would their life look like? What would that new life look like? What enjoyable new experiences would they have? How would others perceive them in a positive or different light now that they're this new person living this new life? How would they feel about themselves if they made a change and were able to live like this? You need to ask yourself, what would make that so amazing? Like, why would they even want to move to this wonderful life? And sometimes it's obvious, but it's up to you to understand it and to make it vivid and exciting, right? You can describe the life of a multimillionaire traveling the world and enjoying all the finest things the world has to offer. And you can do it in a really boring way, or you can do it in an exciting and dynamic way. It's all on how you frame it, but it's up to you to look forward, get a detailed, hope-filled, compelling version of the future of a dream state they could step into if they're able to solve these problems. And it's up to you to understand that. That's the pleasure that they're moving towards. So the more vivid and dynamic you can be in understanding their pain and pleasure, the more powerful you can compel them to act, right? This is key. Most people have found ways to dull down the pain in their life, and they've found ways to dull down the vision of the future because they want to stay comfortable, right? Again, the pain of change is difficult, and so sometimes they will actually diminish the pain of their current situation in order to keep them from having to act. You see this all the time, right? You see these skinny guys that make fun of people who are physically strong and call them stupid and stuff like that, because it's a lot easier to just flip it in their mind and call someone stupid than to put in the hard work to earn something, right? So your prospects will have done this in many, many ways for the pain that they're experiencing. They will find ways to diminish it or to diminish the allure of a dream state. So the more vivid you can describe the dream state and the pain, the better you'll be able to spark those emotions, those motivating emotions inside of the reader. Bonus points, this gets a lot easier if you make the answers sensory. So those questions I asked about, the dream state or the current frustration, if you can put them in terms of sensory information, so visual, auditory, tactile, olfactory, gustatory, et cetera, right? Those 5 main senses. If you can encode the information and the vision of that dream state inside of those 5 senses, you will make it more vivid, more exciting, and more dynamic just by default. So bonus points, little thing to think about. So there's another point to keep in mind. The higher the importance of the pain and pleasure that you are talking about, the more motivating they are, right? So many of you have heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. He was some old psychologist, came with this pyramid. It's been pretty helpful for me in helping elevate the level of conversation, the level of pain and pleasure that I motivate my readers with, right? So the base, you have physiological needs, air, water, food, shelter, stuff like that, right? Then you have safety, then love and belonging, then esteem and self-actualization. Status is like a version of esteem, right? It's a pretty high thing up there, right? So if you sit and talk about the tangible, physical, whatever benefits of a product or some dream life, you can talk about a really boring way down the bottom, and it's not going to be that motivating. But if you can frame it in terms of status and love and acceptance and self-actualization and being the best version of themselves possible, typically that's more motivating, right? So the higher you can, and you can't always just come in swinging with self-actualization. You usually have to kind of notch up step by step and kind of take them up this hierarchy. But the higher up this hierarchy you can connect that change you want to make, the more motivating it is, right? People act out of, like, this becomes significantly more alluring if you can somehow tie product or services that you're offering or the change that you're inspiring them, if you can connect it to these higher order hierarchy of needs, it becomes more impactful, more compelling. So again, the higher up you can elevate the focus, the greater you can amplify their desire to change. So we've talked about kind of those two main motivators, how to amplify them, how to understand them, how to learn about them in the terms of your avatar. Now that you've got your reader all ready to take action, we've got the horse all revved up. You've amplified the pain, you understand his pain, you understand the dream state that he's going towards. The next question is, how do you then direct them to solve their problem? So you've got them all ready to go. Where do you point that horse? Where do you point that reader now? And how do you help them understand how to move forward, right? And that's something I'll be talking about in the next video. But right now, you understand the two main human motivators and how they connect to getting people to change. All right, so we've talked about how to motivate people. We're now going to talk about the path to change. So once you've got them motivated, what do you do with them, right? So once you have someone chomping at the bit to change, right? And I remember this picture from the previous video. You've got them moving towards a dream state. You've got them running away from pain on the back end. Where do you direct them? Where do they go after that? Where do you direct the horse? What is the track that you need to have them run on to get what you want? And part of that includes, how do you get them to buy your product? That's part of the process, right? So consider this. Almost everyone in this world, you included, know exactly what your dream life would look like, or at least have some idea, right? You know the fun things, you know that there's a better life out there for you. So the question is, if people know that, why don't they just step into that dream life today, right? Why don't you just step into living the life that you want? Obviously, it's not just a lack of motivation. It's not a lack of pain in your current life or desire for the dream life. Most of the time, there are roadblocks that are keeping people from moving into their dream state, right? Now, I've created some really, really high quality diagrams here to help you understand this concept. But you have here this little sad emoji guy in his current state. It's all rainy and sad, and he wants to move to his dream state. Now, most people, in this example, this is just a clear path. You just walk forward. So most people try and move towards their dream state, but they encounter roadblocks. They encounter things that stop them from reaching their dream state, and they don't know how to get around. They don't know how to get over. They don't know how to get to that dream state, and they're stuck. Now, the thing is, your avatar might not even know about or even understand the roadblock that's limiting them. They just know they can't, for some reason, make this change happen in their life. And if you can help them understand that obstacle, that roadblock, better than they currently do, they'll love you forever. This is one of the best ways to create and generate trust between you and another person, is if you can help them gain new insights into why their world is the way it is and why they're not getting what they want, and sort of the other side of the coin, how to get what they want, right? So when you're sitting down trying to identify these things, you need to ask yourself, what is keeping my avatar from getting what they want now? Now, you need to ask yourself what mistakes they're making, what things they've tried that haven't worked in the past. And you need to continue to kind of break down and go deeper and deeper in this investigation. Roadblocks have layers. There are reasons within reasons within reasons why they aren't getting what they want. But usually there's one key reason. If you can keep going down that path, eventually you'll get to that key reason, the one thing that's stopping them from getting what they want. Yeah, there's a key roadblock. There's always that one thing that if you shift that, everything else, all the other dominoes fall into place and they can get what they want, right? Once you've identified that key roadblock, it's time to uncover the corresponding solution. So it's like a coin. There's one side is the roadblock, the other side is the solution. And the solution is kind of what bridges the gap. It's the information, the insight, the understanding of the world that's going to set them free. It's going to show them exactly how to overcome their current roadblocks and get, walked into their dream state. So solutions can usually be stated in if-then phrases and are connected to that core roadblock. For example, let's say we're helping overweight people lose weight. And the roadblock is they're eating more calories than they burn. They are in a caloric surplus. They don't understand that, or they can't live any different. They don't know how. That's the roadblock that's keeping them from losing weight. So in that case, the solution might be, it's a simple law of nature. If you eat less calories than you burn, then you will lose weight. That's the key. That's the piece of information, the principle they need to follow to overcome their current limitations and step into their dream state, right? That's a pretty simplistic example, but that's a way to understand it. That's a way to think about it. This is key, right? So we've talked about what the solution is. Theoretically, at this point, If you reveal all these things to the reader, they now theoretically should know what they need to do to get what they want, right? So where does a product fit in? We just help them for free? What do we do next? You need to understand that the product is the vehicle that helps the avatar take advantage of that solution, of that law of nature, right? So it's the vehicle that helps them get over that bridge and into their dream state the quickest and the easiest, right? The product makes it faster, safer, and easier and more fun to overcome the roadblock and make it to the dream state than if they did it by themselves, right? It's what helps them get there faster, more efficiently, and with less risk, right? The product isn't the solution. It's the thing that helps them use that key law of nature to get what they want, right? Now, these are important concepts. Once you can identify how all these things daisy chain together and connect, you can reshape people's brains and show them how the world really works. It's kind of like you're red pilling them. Once you can show them, their current state, the true nature of the roadblock, the solution, once you can show them that, it's kind of like you give them the red pill. You've opened their eyes to how the world truly is, right? And then you frame the product as the best vehicle and the fastest way to then take advantage of that new principle and get the thing that they want. If you can understand these concepts, you will be able to help. Like, most business owners don't even understand how these concepts tie together for their own products and solutions. They don't understand their avatars even. Just understanding this gives you an amazing way to start bringing value to clients that you work with. If you understand these things correctly, you will be able to write very persuasively. Usually when you run into limitations when you're sitting there trying to write, it's because you don't answer these questions. You don't understand the answer to these questions for the specific product or service or avatar. You need to always make sure that you get clarity about how these ideas connect together. You understand what their current situation is like, what their dream state is like. You understand what their roadblock is, the key thing that's keeping them from getting what they want, what that solution is, and how the product helps them take advantage of that solution. If you can do that, if you can understand these things, you will be able to direct a motivated reader to take action and buy the product and achieve their dream state. You can help people make massive changes in their life and pay tens of thousands of dollars for products that will help them get massive value in their life, and you'll be rewarded well. If you fail to understand these principles, it will be much more difficult for you to write really persuasively and to help people make meaningful change. These are superpowers. If you can also take this information and turn around and look at your own life, look at your own current limitations, your own roadblocks, and find the key solution, the key law of nature that you can use to take advantage and sort of bridge that gap and step into your dream state more quickly, more efficiently. And once you can do it for yourself, you can do it for other people. This is wildly powerful concepts. Use it to help people make change, and you'll be rewarded very well for it by clients in the universe. All right, real quick. This is a really quick and simple, let's call it, crash course in time management. And this is extremely important because right now you're in this campus, you're in this section because you have time, but you don't necessarily have a lot of extra actual capital to invest money, that sort of stuff. That's okay, because time is the most valuable resource anyways. And if you invest it correctly, you will get what you want in life. If you fail to invest it correctly, you will never get what you want. Time management is key. I like to say this: he who controls his time controls his outcomes in life. And it's 1,000% true. How you invest your time is going to give you everything you want, or it's going to keep you from getting anything you want. Now, let's dive right in. There's a really simple way for you to take complete control of your time. This is something that most people don't do. This is something that every successful person I've ever met does. You start using this, you're going to start seeing massive changes in the outcomes in your life. You're going to get way more done each day. You're going to progress through the boot camp faster. You're going to land clients faster. This is key. This is a good, important step you need to take. And that is, before you can even allow yourself to fall asleep and let your head hit that pillow, you must plan what you're going to do for the next day. And it doesn't have to be terribly complicated. A simple list on your phone in an app, a notes app. I do pen and paper. I sit down and I write down tomorrow I'm going to do, and I write a checklist of things I need to get done that next day. It's really simple, but you decide logically what you're going to do the next day. You deliberately plan, what am I going to accomplish tomorrow? And the reason you do this is because if you don't, what's going to happen is you're going to wake up, you're going to start going through your day, and you're going to have a desire to go do this. You're going to have a whim to go do that, and there's going to be and those things will take you away. And if you have a deliberate plan, that's a lot less likely to happen. you'll say, no, I've already decided I'm going to do this. You can more easily dismiss the distractions that come. There's another important reason, right? When you sit down to work, if you don't know what you need to do, there's this little moment of fear, little moment of, oh no, what should I do? What should I do? And there's a little hurdle you have to jump before you can get to work. And that's you have to figure out what you need to do. And if you do that, there's a chance that if you're a normal human being who doesn't have ironclad discipline quite yet, when you reach that little moment where it's difficult, your mind will give you an easy answer instead of the right answer to say, oh, why don't you just go do this? Or why don't you just watch another video on YouTube? Or why don't you just meditate for another hour or whatever? It gives you an easy answer instead of the right answer. But if you take time the day before you sit down and you actually decide, no, tomorrow I'm going to do X, Y, and Z because they're the most important things I can do. Then when you actually sit down to work, there's no more difficulty. You know what you're going to do. So you just sit down and do it. It saves you a significant amount of time. You're not going to waste as much time, and you're going to choose better things to do with your time each day. So before you fall asleep, force yourself, make it a habit. It's a habit for me. It's a habit for every successful person I know to plan out what they're going to do and accomplish the next day. So the next question is, how do you determine what to do? And there's a really cool tool called the Eisenhower Matrix that I've been using for a long time to plan and prioritize my tasks. So it's really simple. It's a matrix. So it's not the matrix, it's a matrix. And you have important and not important tasks, and you have urgent and not urgent tasks. Important tasks are things that move the needle, right? They create an outcome. They make a difference in your life, your business. Usually means they're going to get you money in. They're going to lead to you making money. Not important things are just things you have to do. They're administrative tasks. They're little things that have to happen in your day-to-day life. And then obviously, urgency means it has to be done today. There's a deadline. There's something important. There's a client that needs something. There's a homework assignment due that day, that kind of stuff. That's urgent, right? There's an emergency. You've got to pay your rent today or else you're going to get kicked out of your house. That kind of stuff is urgent. Not urgent means it can happen today, it can happen tomorrow. But in the long run, it doesn't really matter if it happens today or tomorrow, right? Now, when you categorize things by these two categories, you'll find some things are urgent and important. Those are things that need to get done today. It's a big deal if they don't get done. They're going to produce an important result. And those are the things you need to get done first, as quickly and efficiently as possible, because they're what's going to either create a serious problem if you don't get done, and they're also going to give you significant benefits. You need to get those done every day. The other one is, but the real important one is this important but not urgent. And usually these are the kind of things that they're improvements on the system. So if you're operating in a certain way, you're going through the boot camp in a certain way, your skills are a certain thing. This is where you step back, observe what you're doing, and make some strategic moves. This is doing practice to improve your copy. Or this is sitting down to analyze your sales outreach method and see if there's a better way to improve it. This is where you take a step back and you do things that are going to move the needle. Really, these are the things that systematically evolve your business operations or your personal path in life. And these are extremely important, but a lot of times they get drowned out because they're not urgent, right? So you end up spending time doing these urgent things over here and these fall by the wayside. What you need to do is you need to identify these important tasks and you need to schedule them, right? So obviously you need to finish these as quickly as possible, but you need to force yourself, block time out on your calendar where you schedule these important but not urgent things, because this, right, and I colored it gold for a reason, because these tasks right here, these are the ones that evolve. These are what take you to another level. These are the things that change your overall ability outcome. It makes the whole thing go better. So you need to make sure you get these done. Now, there's urgent but not important things. These are just tasks that kind of need to be done, but they're fairly low level. They require low skill. They're not terribly important. And so you need to either delegate them out to someone else, find someone else in your life who can handle these. Obviously, if you don't have money to delegate or pay someone to do this, you need to batch them. You need to put them all into one thing. Like checking your email is important, but not really that urgent. So you just do it all at once. You just sit down and for 5 minutes, you check and finish your email and all that stuff. Boom, boom, done. Whenever you have to do these again, you want to batch them. You want to set aside some time and just go through them as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And then there are things that are not important and not urgent, and you should just delete them from your life. You don't need them. They're not moving you forward, so just don't do them. Like farting around on the internet is not really that important. Just scrolling on TikTok, it's not important. It's not urgent. It doesn't do anything for your life. You want to minimize this, right? So you want to allocate your time to these tasks. You want to do the important and not urgent, and to the urgent and not important. If you do these, also, quick note, the more of these you're able to do, the less of these you have to deal with, right? If you can do things that are important, but you don't have a deadline for it today, if you do those ahead of time, then you don't have to deal with the constraints of an urgent task, right? So you want to spend your time up here on these top two and minimize your time on these bottom two, especially the non-important, not urgent. You want to delete that from your life as much as possible, because any time invested here gives you no return. Any time invested in these top two gives you an important immediate return. the best is obviously these are at the top. Anyways, this is a filter. The Eisenhower matrix is a really important tool to help you sort your tasks out for the day and figure out which ones to prioritize and which ones to add to that list you make before you go to bed. So another really important step here is to define your, what I call your time investment plan. And that's where you just sit down and you just block out time on your schedule, right? You say, okay, I'm going to wake up at this time. I'm gonna get to work at this time. I'm gonna do this at this time. I'm gonna do this at this time. This is where you take that list and you actually apply it to how much time you're going to allocate to each task and which time you're going to allocate to each task, right? Now, obviously, this plan might change a little bit, but just sitting down and doing this, it helps you understand, okay, I can accomplish these tasks because I've set aside this time. I'm going to invest this amount of time in this task. And also, it gives you the advantage because it helps you take advantage of what's called Parkinson's law. This is what I call the beat the clock game. So if you have a defined amount of time for each task that you're going to accomplish, you can take advantage of Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law states the work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. What that means is if you allocate a whole day to a task, you will somehow magically find a way to spend that entire day on this task. If you allocate 15 minutes, you might be able to get the same work done. Some of you guys have seen this as you've gone through normal school as a kid, where you would often procrastinate a project that would take other people 3 weeks. You could do it in a day because it was due that afternoon. And you can use this to your advantage to be more efficient with how you use your time. If you block off time on your calendar and it's a challenging time, if you set a challenging time limit for your tasks, it allows you to cut away the unnecessary elements, the things that other people would waste their time on, the things that aren't necessarily critical to getting the task done. And it makes it more fun. So set a timer, say, okay, to finish this homework assignment, I'm going to spend 35 minutes on it. So you set a timer and I say homework assignment, I mean like missions or practice throughout this boot camp. So as you're going along and you're doing, let's say you have to write an email, right, for one of the practices. Instead of saying, okay, I'm going to spend an hour trying to come up with a good subject line, just say, I'm going to spend 5 minutes and see if I can come up with a good subject line. So you set a timer on your phone and then you race that timer. You try and complete the task before the timer. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes you have to adjust your time, but you want to find a challenging time constraint because that time constraint forces you to bring your A game. Deadlines are powerful, right? And they're an extremely powerful tool. If you can set micro deadlines for micro tasks, you'll find yourself pushing through tasks significantly quicker and more efficiently. And with this, you want to stay adaptable, right? In life, what's his name? Charles Darwin, the guy that talked about evolution. He didn't necessarily say that the strongest are the ones that survive. He said the ones who are most able to adapt to the constraints of their environment survive. It's being most adaptable that lets you succeed. Things are going to come up as you go through your day. The famous Patton quote: "No plan survives first contact with the enemy." Things are going to come up. Things are going to happen. Things will change. You're going to have an emergency email. This will happen. You're going to end up going on. You'll be having to travel to Europe for business. You might not have that problem now, but it happens at some point. But if you have a really compelling goal, and that main focus is I'm trying to accomplish X objective in my life, then, and it's really compelling, like I need to get rich, I need to go through this program, I need to learn these skills, I need to land clients, and that's what you're shooting for, then you can find a way to adjust, right? So maybe you'll change your list a little bit that day, or your schedule will be a little different. But if you have a compelling goal, it makes it easier for you to allocate your time better, because you'll be sitting there and you'll be like, oh, I've got an hour layover here in Frankfurt. I'm going to work on my phone and get through this. I'm going to take this time and invest it in this important, compelling goal because I really want to escape the rat race and become a free financial man. So I'm going to spend this time because it's really important, compelling. So the more compelling your goals, the easier just to be adaptable and work and achieve your tasks when things come up and your plan changes. Another quick note here: morning rituals are a crutch and a lie for lesser men. Most people use morning rituals, long, extensive morning rituals. I wake up, I journal for 30 minutes, I go on this walk, I do this, I do that. And they use it as a crutch. It's an opportunity for them to just not do the work. It's a way to procrastinate. Remember when I said sitting down and doing the work, there's this little hurdle you have to jump over? Even when you know what you need to do, getting started is half the battle, right? So people find all these ways to avoid the fear of the confrontation in their life of having to confront the fact they need to sit down and start doing something that might be boring, some boring work that's really important in their life. Most people use morning rituals as that. So you don't want to use morning rituals. You need to understand that the people who are crazy about morning rituals are typically people who are afraid of doing the work. And you cannot be afraid of doing the work if you really want to be successful here. Because in the long run, winning, being successful, becoming a very skilled and high-paid copywriter, for example, developing the skill is about putting in the most reps. Whoever gets the most work done in the same amount of human years wins. So you want to just get up, or when you sit down or get back, when you have your time to dedicate to copywriting, you just want to sit down and get straight to work. Let lesser people worry about their morning rituals. You just get the work done. If you get more reps done in the same amount of human years, then you beat everyone else. That's really the competition. Who can use their time most efficiently, get the most work done in the same number of days, weeks, and months. who can do it the most efficiently by focusing on the most important things. Whoever can do that, they win. Those are the people who are able to accomplish great things, develop the level of mastery they need to become successful. An important concept too, and this is part of our core values here inside of this campus, is when I'm awake, I'm working, right? You want to devote every available second to doing things that will move your life forward. If you have a strong, compelling goal, if you really, truly desire to be successful, you will find a way to invest all of your waking time into something productive, something that will reward you and something that will give you an ROI, something that will give you a return on that investment of that time. When I'm awake, I'm working. I wake up early, I sit down, I get to work because I have compelling goals and I want to achieve them. You should do the same thing. When I have free time, when I find myself sitting there with my phone, I find a way to work. I find a way to get things done, things that are productive, right? Things that will improve my life. I minimize as much as possible all of the extra stuff in my life that doesn't lead to a productive outcome. And everything I do is deliberate and it's purposeful and it drives me forward. And there's different kinds of work. I say, and you'll notice I said it here in this little slide, things that will move your life forward. That doesn't mean that every second of every day you're in there in a spreadsheet working on copywriting. Obviously, you need to devote some time to improving your physical strength. There are other compelling goals in your life besides just finances, and you have relationships and important things in your life that are rewarding and will move your life forward. Use your time and invest them in those things in addition to making money, right? That should be a very extremely high priority for you as you're seeking to improve yourself and escape the challenges you face in your life. But you want to dedicate all of the time that you have to things that are valuable and can reward. And you can still have a lot of fun doing all of these things, but make sure you focus your time on things that will improve your life. Do you want to be rich or not? Do you really want to be successful? Do you really want to have the things that you say you want? If you'll find a way to invest your time as efficiently as possible into things that will give you those results. Let lesser men fritter away their time on things like social media consumption, on watching shows and stuff like that. You are a different breed of human being because you have more compelling goals and you have a stronger force of will that will allow you to achieve what you want and become something that they can only dream of. Literally, they only dream of, but you can actually become it if you choose to invest your time wisely. So use the principles that I've outlined in this short presentation to manage your time, your most valuable resource. Invest it wisely and watch as your investments pay giant dividends over the course of the next week, the next month, and the next year, and the next decade of your life. So use this information. It will be extremely helpful for you in the long run.
Why?